Welcome to the Plato Paradigm, a paradigm shift in reading Plato's dialogues. Episode 33, Euthyphro 2d to 3c. Socrates hasn't quite finished describing Meletus. Epeta metat tuto telon hotiton presbyteron epi Melethes, pleston kai megiston agathon aitios te pole genesetai. Hosceto ekos sum benai ektoiautes arches arxameno. Then after this, that is after weeding out the old people, it's clear that having taken care of the older people, he will become the cause of very many and very great goods to the polis, as indeed should reasonably happen to someone who has begun from such a beginning. Socrates is crediting Meletus with all the good qualities of a farmer, while all we've learnt about Meletus is that he is prosecuting Socrates alone. He's not even weeding out all of the older generation, as far as we know, and he's certainly not actually benefiting the young, apart from removing Socrates. What Socrates has said is absurd, and it leads to an expected reaction from Euthyphro. Bouloimen an, O Socrates, al orodo me tunantion genetai. I would wish, O Socrates, this is like saying, if only, Socrates, but I fear the opposite may happen. Atechnos gar moidoke aphestias archestai kakurgenten polin epicheron adicense. For he just seems to me, from the very beginning, to be harming the polis in trying to do you an injustice. Euthyphro uses the verb adikeo to commit injustice, and it's interesting that he uses it in reference to the graphe of Meletus. Graphe is a writ, but dike is a private prosecution. He's treating the graphe by Meletus as if Meletus is doing a personal injury to Socrates and not on behalf of the polis. If Euthyphro is correct in this assessment, we would conclude that the demos as a whole, the body politic, will commit injustice when they find Socrates guilty of this trumped-up charge. We still don't know whether the charge is trumped up or not, and actually Euthyphro does the right thing by asking now why Meletus is charging Socrates with this accusation. Kai moilege, tikai poiuntas efesiti aftherentus neus. And tell me, by you doing what does he say that you corrupt the young? Atopa o thaumasia hos hutogakusai. Strange things, O wondrous man, at least thus to hear it. Fesigar me poetene theon, kai hos kainus poiunta theus tust archaius udomitontai grapsato tuton auton heneca, hos fesin. For he says that I am a creator of gods, and he wrote the writ against me as someone creating new gods and not believing the old gods, so he says. There were two charges against Socrates: corrupting the youth and introducing new gods, believing in new gods, in other words, not believing the old gods of Athens. But here, Socrates has turned the two charges into one charge. He's corrupting the youth by introducing new gods, by believing in new gods, not believing in the old gods. Thus, even the charge of corrupting the youth becomes part of the offense against the gods, which explains again why this is a writ against Socrates and why the trial will be held in front of the Archon Basileus, the King Archon. The implication seems to be that Socrates doesn't believe in the gods of the city because he now believes in new gods, and he's corrupting the youth by making them believe in these new gods and disbelieving the gods of the city. Thus, the emphasis in this dialogue is on the lack of respect of Socrates, allegedly, towards the gods of the city. By emphasizing the religious aspect, Socrates makes Euthyphro react in a particular way. Socrates knows something about Euthyphro which we only find out in a few lines from now. That Euthyphro considers himself to be an expert on divine matters. Thus, Socrates is steering the conversation towards the expertise of Euthyphro, and it just so happens that the subject pertains to divine matters, and it just so happens that divine matters is the subject of the dialogue, which Plato has created in this way. Socrates, of course, is unaware that he is a character in a dialogue and that he represents one aspect of justice and divine matters. We may suspect that he is, given that he is being prosecuted for offences against the gods, while Euthyphro must represent another aspect because he also has a case concerning offences against the gods. As is usual in a Platonic dialogue, the characters need to be shown as being what they are and appearing to be the opposite. And in this particular instance, Euthyphro helps to show why Socrates appears to offend against the gods while actually not offending against the gods. That is to say, Plato the dramatist uses an unwitting Euthyphro to show the readers what Socrates is about. Manthano, Socrates, hoti de sou to daimonion fes sauto hekastote gigenestai. I understand, Socrates, because you claim that you occasionally have the daimonion. Daimonion means pertaining to a daimon, and a daimon is a personal divine power which was supposed to look after a human being. If the daimon worked properly, the person would be eudaimon, and if the daimon worked badly, the person would be kakodaimon. And the aim of most philosophers is to reach eudaimonia, which would be where the daimon works well, and that would be seen by the life of the person running smoothly. Eudaimonia is nowadays usually translated as happiness, which tends to lose something in translation. Already in the classical period, eudaimonia wasn't taken literally and did actually have the sort of meaning we have today of happiness, a blessed life. But strictly speaking, anyone who did believe that he had a personal daimon would be adhering more closely to traditional religion. If therefore Socrates claims to have some sort of daimonic power looking after him, it might be considered unusual by his contemporaries, but it's certainly not a new idea in Greek or Athenian religion. Euthyphro refers to to daimonion, the daimonic power. He's talking about the specific daimonic power which Socrates says that he has occasionally. In Plato's dialogues, the daimonion only appears to warn Socrates against doing something, while in Xenophon, the daimonion actually predicts future events, and Socrates can warn other people to do or not to do certain things. Whatever the case may be, this is hardly an offence against the gods. Euthyphro understands the situation very quickly. Hosun kainotomun tosu peritathea gegraptaitautenten graphen, kai hos diabolon de erchetai esto dicasterion, eidos oti iu diabola tatoiauta prostus polus. So he's written this writ as if you are innovating about divine things, and it's with the intention of slandering you that he goes to the dicasterion, the law court, knowing that such things are easy to misrepresent to the many. So far as Euthyphro is concerned, Socrates has a legitimate religious practice, but the many already don't understand this sort of thing, and it's easy for someone like Meletus to present Socrates' daimonion as a new god, and therefore can say that Socrates doesn't believe in the old gods, which is not true necessarily. It could be true, but it doesn't follow from having a daimonion. Euthyphro's low opinion of the many with regard to divine matters comes from personal experience. Kai emugartoi hotanti lego ente ecclesia periton theon prolegon autoista melonta kategelosin hos mainomenu. For whenever I say something about divine matters in the public assembly, predicting to them future events, they mock me as if I'm mad. The public assembly was where the demos, the body politic, debated and voted on the affairs of the polis, and these included public spending and relations between Athens and other states, other polis. Any citizen could speak in the assembly for or against any particular subject that was up for discussion and vote, but the right to be heard clearly did not include the right to have one's opinion respected. In Platonic dialogues, mockery is almost synonymous with disagreement. When the many disagree with the opinion of someone in the minority, they mock that person. In heuristics, mockery is a valuable tool because it indicates who's on the losing side. In this dialogue, heuristics isn't at issue, but affairs of the gods evidently are, and it's interesting that the many mock Euthyphro, who predicts the future. We haven't yet seen how Euthyphro predicts the future, but this will become evident later on.